Is the Disney Wonder still worth booking or is it showing its age? Let's go over what this ship has to offer, including all the pros and the cons. Hi, I'm Shannon from www.prepschool.com, and I just got off the Disney Wonder for I don't know how many times, the fourth time, the fifth time. It's a lot. And I will say that it is probably my favorite of all of the Disney cruise ships, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. It does have its pros and cons. Let's start with pros. Okay, pro number one, it is small. It is one of the smallest ships. It is the same size as the Magic, and they are the two smallest of all of the Disney cruise ships, coming in at 875 staterooms. For a comparison, all of the other ships have about 50% more staterooms. And because of that, the ship is really easy to navigate. Like if you're a first time cruiser and you get on board the Wonder, you're going to have a pretty easy time figuring out where everything is, which just makes it easier to kind of settle into your trip because you're not always wondering how to get everywhere. It also does make it more intimate. So if you're with a group, like we were the group of 26 people on this last trip, and it was just really easy to constantly be running into each other, find each other. Let's go play trivia over here, or let's sit down and have a drink here. It's just so much easier when the ship is smaller. The next pro of the Disney Wonder is the itineraries. So this ship has some very interesting itineraries. It was previously in Australia. It is currently going out of San Diego and Vancouver. Most Disney cruise ships are going out of Florida. So if you want some different itineraries, then this ship is a good one. Next up is that the Disney Wonder has great service. The crew on the Wonder is probably my favorite of all of the Disney cruise ships I've been on. I think the best tips I've given have been to Disney Wonder crew members, compliments, etc. And I have a theory that all those interesting itineraries that the Wonder has been on has created an interesting dynamic amongst the crew, maybe a trauma bond. But whatever the reason is, they're really, really great. They feel like a well-oiled machine. I have had some issues on the other cruise ships where there's a lot of people that are in training and you can feel it. And so on this ship, I just feel like they've got it down and I can always count on it for good service. The next pro of the Disney Wonder is good food. I have rarely had a bad meal on the Wonder. There are 3 rotational dining rooms on the Wonder, including Triton's, which is the subtly themed Little Mermaid room that's right off the atrium. It's not the most exciting dining room, but it does have good food. All the ships kind of have one of these that is a little bit more subdued. And then there's Tiana's, which, as the name implies, has Tiana with a live band, and it's gorgeous. They have themed food. I really love this space. And then finally, there is Animator's Palate, the most charming dining room on the Disney cruise ships because it is animation themed and Mickey comes through and it's just a delight. Really makes it feel like a Disney cruise. And so I just happen to really like the dining rooms. I do tend to ask the servers what their recommendations are for food, and I will often just stick to that. But I just have rarely had an issue with the food on the Wonder. Outside of the rotational dining spaces, I also really do like the quick service places, in particular Daisy Delights, which is located just outside the Cabanas Buffet. And Daisy Delights has a lot of just like sandwiches and soups and fresh fruits. And it's just a really nice place to stop and get stuff, the kind of stuff that I like to have for lunch. Next up, a big pro of the Disney Wonder is the adult only areas. So even though it is such a small ship, it does have fantastic spaces that are allocated to be adults only. That includes the Quiet Cove pool area, which is much bigger on this ship than it is on the newer ships for some reason. And so it's just easy to find a chair and a spot to just hang out and read or to go swimming. This area does include the Cove Cafe, which is the coffee shop, and it is adults only. This whole pool coffee space is always adults only. And so it's just really nice to just head there and spend a lot of time, particularly if you are in an adults only group. But also, if you're traveling with your kids and they're in the kids' clubs, it's nice to get away from other people's kids and head here. There are also entertainment spaces that during the day are mixed use, except for the Cadillac Lounge, which is always adults only. But there are some spaces, including the pub, that are mixed use during the day. And then after a certain hour in the evening, they become adults only. There's a door that you walk in, and beyond that, it's adults only. So I sort of call it my portal into the adult spaces. And it just feels very segmented. Like once you get past this, it's going to be adults only. And I like that. The newer ships don't have it delineated quite as much. And so I do appreciate that about the Wonder. And the last pro on this list is the price. So the overall price of Disney Wonder cruises skew less expensive than most of the bigger and newer ships. I ran a comparison of the different itineraries offered on the Wonder versus some of the other ships. And I am showing that the Wonder is often offering, try to say that 10 times, $450 to $500 a night for their lowest price staterooms, with cruises that are on the newer and bigger ships skewing closer to $600 to $800 a night for their least expensive rooms. So overall, it's just a lower price point, which can make it a lot more accessible to a lot more people. Now let's talk about the cons. Number one on the cons list is the staterooms. Now, this ship was launched in 1999, so it is one of the oldest ships in the whole fleet. And overall, the ship is in great shape. I think it is gorgeous. However, it is showing its age in the staterooms where the walls are really plain and the plugs and ports are very minimal. And I think that it could really use a refurb to bring it up to par with current times and with their other ships. So where you go into the staterooms on the newer ships, you're going to see really beautiful decor, and it's really thought through. On the Wonder, it's more like plain walls and art that is just randomly hung there. And sometimes I don't even know what the art is. And so I would really like to have an update. This seems like it would be really easy to do when they want to update the Wonder, but they haven't so far made any of these changes. I do still think the rooms are cleverly designed like they are on all of the ships, where there is the split bathroom in a lot of the rooms, and there's lots of great storage. And in these ships, they actually have some more dresser space, whereas the newer ships don't. But overall, I think it would benefit from a refurb to add more to it and bring it up to par with the other ships. The next con on the list pains me to say, and that is the stage shows. I'm a show person. One of the things I love about DCL the most is the quality of their shows, but I think the Disney Wonder might have the worst of all of the stage shows in the whole fleet. The three stage shows on this ship are the Golden Mickeys, which is kind of like an Oscars. It's like an outdated Oscar show that they've had on the ship for a very long time. There's also a Frozen musical, and I have seen many versions of Frozen musical, including the one that Disney used to have at California Adventure, which is my favorite of all of them. So I know that they can do it. But this one feels like the performers are great, but the production value is not there, including the fact that when Elsa does a dress change, it looks like a cosplayer pulling a string and then just pushing the dress down as opposed to a magical moment. Like my entire feed has different Elsas and different productions having a magical dress change, but in this one, it's a more minimal thing. And this like some of the projections were blurry, and it's just not good. In our group, a lot of people did like the Golden Mickeys and the Frozen show, but I think they really pale in comparison to the productions that are on some of the other ships, and I don't like these that much. The third show that is on this ship is Disney Dreams. All of the cruise ships have a show that is like a medley of Disney shows put together. So I don't know if that makes sense, but on this particular one, Disney Dreams is about a little girl who falls asleep. And when she falls asleep, she has dreams that include different Disney stories. And so the characters of those shows sort of come out into her dreams. I think it's really cute. Some people in our group who have seen it multiple times opted out. And the first timers really seem to like it. So a real mixed bag with this one. It's my favorite of the shows on this ship. It is my least favorite of all of the medley shows that exist on DCL. But overall, I think the shows need an update. And last on the con list is that the Disney Wonder is the only Disney cruise ship that doesn't have a plunge water slide or a water coaster. They only have one family slide. Now, I'm not a water slide person. I don't know if I've ever been on a water slide on a Disney cruise, but I know that this is something that is important to other people. So if a plunge slide or a water coaster is important to you, you can go on any of the other ships and find that. You just won't find it on the Wonder. Okay, so having said all that, who is the Wonder good for? There's a list. First of all, it's good for me. I go on the Wonder all the time. I love the Wonder. But more generally, let's go with a list. So number one is people on a budget. As I said, the price point for this ship per night does skew a little lower than the newer ships. So if you want to do on a budget, then this was a good way to go. Number two is solo travelers. And the reason I say that is related to the previous thing of the budget. And that's because solo travelers have a certain charge that they have to pay because they are not in a room with two people, because the rate is always based on double occupancy. And so if you are a solo traveler going on a ship that costs less, then the amount that you're going to have to pay for that fee is going to be less. Another group that I think would like the wonder is adults only groups. And that is because of what I said about all of the adults only spaces. Really like the adults only pool area, the adults only entertainment spaces. We were there with 26 people and 26 adults only and had a great time. And I would highly suggest it for adults. And lastly, people who are wanting to travel out of the ports where it's sailing. Most of the Disney cruise ships go out of Florida, or they often do, but this one kind of moves all over the place. And so, if you're looking for something different that's not in Florida, then the Disney Wonder might be a good option for you. Okay, so that's the pros and cons of the Disney Wonder. I'm curious if other people have some other ideas that they would add to the list. I would love to hear it. Leave those in the comments, and thanks for watching.